Welcome back to my Mindful Meanderings. I'm your host Chrissy, and this is part 4 of the series about AI and how it's changing the way we work and live. In this episode, we talk about jobs that seemed safe from AI. You know, those roles that need that human touch. We look at why banking everything on government funding might not be the smartest move, and how policy changes can flip entire industries upside down overnight. Today's episode is different though. It's personal. I've been playing with ChatGPT and other AI tools, and let me tell you, it's completely changed how I think about getting work done. I had this chat with Matt that really opened my eyes, and I can't wait to share what I've learned with you. We're going to look at real examples of how businesses are actually using AI right now, not the fancy stuff, but the practical, everyday way it makes work easier. For those of you in creative fields or professional services, you might be surprised by some of the ways AI is already showing up in your industry. Here's the thing, and this is important. We're not talking about AI replacing us. Instead, we're looking at how we can work alongside it, using it to handle the boring stuff while we focus on what we do best. Whether you're excited about AI or a bit nervous about all this episode will give you some solid ideas about how to make these tools work for you, not against you. So grab your coffee or tea, get comfortable, and let's talk about turning AI from something that feels threatening into something that actually makes your work-life better. Trust me, after this conversation with Matt, you'll see things differently. I know I did. Let's jump in and see what happened when I decided to give ChatGPT a try.
So Chrissy had a chat with ChatGPT, and how did that go? Don't let too much of the cat out of the bag.
Look, it hasn't entirely been formulated, and I still have a lot more work to do, but it certainly changed my perspective in how I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And I'll use a very specific example with this. So I had maybe half a dozen random ideas which I wanted to discuss with you guys because they affect me based on conversations, based on personal experiences with work, and so on and so forth. So that was the intention, and I initially started by just expressing myself. And then after a little bit of thinking, there's one particular topic that I think is incredibly valuable and incredibly expansive, probably a bit like this one in that it can go on for a very long time.
Oh.
And I think poor Matt has listened to me blah 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 on for a bit on this one topic because I'm trying to get to the point, which maybe there isn't one. I don't know.
I think there is a point, and I think you're close to grasping it and really being able to wrap it up in a way that people can appreciate the perspective that you're sharing. And it's a valuable one because we've got friends in certain niche areas who are going to be disrupted by this. We did share something with one of our friends, and the conversation that we had with her was around risk management and her daughter's business as a photographer photographing Instagram influencers. She's an influencer herself, and she's pretty good at what she does. But the risk that we saw was because she's 100% in on Instagram, and okay, that's probably the cool thing to do at that point in time, and it's still relevant today. In fact, today I saw that Instagram's one of the leading search preferences outside of TikTok for Gen Z, I think it is. So the conversation we had with her was largely around her daughter's business model and de-risking the amount of equity that she was deploying into one platform. Yeah. So she was 100% in on Instagram, and for us that's like 100% on any one strategy without a contingency is a risk.
If you are an investor or considering investing, you may have heard of don't put your eggs all in one basket.
Yeah.
And you may have heard of diversify.
Yeah.
It's the same concept, only in business. And so you don't ever want to only pour all of your efforts into Facebook marketing or Instagram marketing or TikTok or whatever the friggin' new trend is.
And we touched on that in a little bit of a sort of peripheral example when we talked about, being 100% in on a business model that relies on government funding. It's the same sort of methodology where you need to diversify where your market can find you, where you extract energy, where you deploy energy, you need to make sure that if one tap gets turned off, that another one is available for you to turn on, because you've got to keep flow happening.
In saying that, don't ever assume that because what you think is happening in one area of your business is not really doing anything. For example, there are lots of social media platforms, some of which you probably haven't even heard of, that we still publish on all of the time.
Yep.
And they may never get traction.
But there's no telling what will and what won't.
But exactly, and that is exactly my point, is that today Instagram is the new fad. Who knows what the next thing is going to be? And
the next is probably going to be a decentralized social media, where we are not, as users and as contributors on those platforms, where we're not exposed to the policies and the whims of a particular centralized entity. That's my opinion or my perspective.
Oh, I think we're probably a little way off from that.
We're probably a few years away. So our friend, her daughter, 100% on Instagram, and the conversation we were having was around making sure that she had considered where she could be found by her market. Because if Instagram decided that they didn't like something about what she was doing and they pulled the plug on her profile and that was all that she had, then she was 100% out of business.
Correct, and we've seen that.
We've seen that time and time again. So how do you protect yourself from that? In a lot of cases, the old school way would be to have another business presence, either as your own website or accounts on other social platforms. But in this situation, I think the barrel that she's staring down in the metaphorical gun is one where the models that she's photographing are largely being replaced by AI models.
So that's a very interesting perspective, which brings us back around, and we haven't even touched on what type of industries AI will affect. But I think for many people, the obvious things that stand out are advertising. Historically, what we've seen is these beautiful images of all of these actors.
For the older generation, it would be your
Audrey Hepburn.
Audrey Hepburns, your James Deans.
Yeah, and for your younger generations, it may be your Taylor Swifts, James Blunt, Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, he's 69 or whatever his name is.
Say what now? Today, you're seeing Charlize Theron holding up a beautiful perfume, and even a few years ago, you guys would have been paid an absolute fortune just to have your face plastered on some advertisement. And good for you for taking advantage of that, because you were in the right place at the right time and you already had the knowledge, expertise and connections to be able to get that gig.
But ding dong, times are changing.
Exactly. With the advent of ChatGPT and MidJourney and DaVinci, there's so many.
As you just mentioned there with DaVinci, like we recently upgraded our video editing program on DaVinci from the free to the premium for a whopping $240 odd US. To get access to things that save us more than $240 worth of time, my God, the value that is wrapped up inside that.
There you have it. My chat with ChatGPT definitely opened my eyes to new possibilities, and I hope it's given you a fresh idea about how AI could fit into your work life too. Coming up in part 5, we're going to look at something really exciting: how people are actually putting these AI tools to work. I've got a fascinating example to share about Matt Wolf. He runs Future Tools, and if you want to know what happens in AI, he's absolutely the person to follow. He shows how to create an entire video from scratch using AI, from writing the script with ChatGPT to creating images in MidJourney, and it's mind-blowing what is possible. We'll also talk about something that's super important: how to get better at using these tools. Because let's be honest, if you just throw random questions at AI, you're going to get random answers back. There's definitely a learning curve here, but I promise you it's worth the effort. Whether you're excited to jump in and try everything or just still a bit unsure about it all, next episode we'll give you the real look into what these tools can do, both the amazing part and some of the not so perfect bits too. So until next time, remember, AI isn't going to replace you, but someone who knows how to use AI might. This is Chrissy with My Mindful Meanderings, and I'll see you in part 5.